each other too much, right? So today we are going to be discussing, beyond the spotlight, the crucial role of event support vendors. And so I'd like to know how many of us are vendors? A couple, which is good, because outside of the vendors, we also need people who are interested in getting married, prospective brides and grooms also learning, what goes on behind the scenes, right? So without wasting much time, we have I'll take the panelists, I'll take the moderator last. Our very first panelist is from a company that we all know, Goldmax Security. It's a Ghanaian-owned private security company licensed by the Ministry of Interior and is led by Maxwell Owusu, a certified protection professional. Goldmax's mission is to provide value, enhancing security services that guarantee peace of mind, safety, and cost effectiveness to clients. Our services include event security, man guard, and escort. We are committed to safeguarding your buildings, facilities, and events using innovative state-of-the-art technology and customization to always ensure maximum protection. Currently, Goldmax has a presence in 10 regions, 10 of the 16 in the country, and offers our services to a wide range of clients. Ladies and gentlemen, our representative for Goldmax today is a man who doesn't want me to mention his accolades, but he doesn't know me. I will embarrass you. He is an engineer, he is a doctor, and his name is Alexander Akwe. I would like a big round of applause to our very first panelist. He asked me not to mention all the accolades, but I couldn't help myself. Up next, we have one of 3 superwomen who will be up here. She works with Boss Cleaning Services. Okay, so Boss Cleaning Services is a vibrant Ghanaian-owned cleaning service company established in the year 2017 to provide clients with the opportunity to experience an enjoyable, hygienic, and pleasant environment at a cost-effective price. We provide excellent janitorial services with extremely high standards of performance and satisfaction. We are a supplier of cleaning and hygiene products and a provider of high-standard general cleaning services. Please pay attention to this one, employing the most scientific methods in a cost-effective manner to all our clients, be they large or small. We provide the following services: domestic cleaning, post-construction cleaning, office commercial cleaning, events cleaning, supply of cleaning products, and training of cleaning staff. I love that we are, encouraging a lot of local content. A round of applause to Francisca Befi Kwache, who is with Boss Cleaners, commercial and domestic cleaning services. A big round of applause, please. The person who said woo has the right vibe. On to our final panelist, ladies and gentlemen, someone who is a self-proclaimed shy person. But after meeting her, nothing she did proved that. And so I don't know where that's coming from. But she's with Gemstone's Pretty Officials Consult. Gemstone is a leading event staffing agency with over 9 years of expertise in providing top-notch, only the toppest of the notch, event professionals who are highly skilled, dedicated, hardworking, resourceful, and charismatic in their fields as event hostesses and event coordinators. Charismatic. The team is led by Jan Rita, who is committed to providing top-notch staff support services in ensuring a seamless execution of events and projects with a keen eye for detail and concern for guest well-being at events. She ensures that she and her team strive to make every client, guest, and vendor feel valued and appreciated at every event encounter. Whether it is a large-scale conference or an intimate gathering like we have here, her team of professionals are trained to provide exceptional services, ensuring a memorable experience for the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we welcome Jan Rita Sifa. I don't know why, when I started reading the profile, I knew Jan Rita wrote it herself. Very superfluous. Thank you very much. And so, we have come to the one person who is going to, work her magic and bring out all the informative detail. We are going to squeeze as much as we can from you, and we have one very important person to do that. And so I will go straight to our moderator's profile. Okay. Tamara Juna. That is a round of applause on its own. Tamara Juna, creative director and founder at the Lionheart Group. Tamara Juna is the creative director and founder of the Lionheart Group, and she has curated an impressive portfolio over the past decade, orchestrating a wide range of high-profile events from weddings to multifaceted productions for diverse clients in Africa. With valuable insights gained from the hospitality and event industries in various countries, including the UAE, Switzerland, England, you are not clapping, China, and South Africa. Tamara in Washington, D.C. underscores her expertise in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful, the vivacious, the talented, the international Tamara Juna. And so what we are going to do is I'm going to hand over to our moderator, and she will, steer the ship till the very end. The name is Mr. Otu. You see me around, you say hello, I say hi. Have a good one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by saying a big thank you for actually showing up today. We really appreciate it. Let's jump right into it, guys. So, I've been in events in Ghana for the last 15 years, and I know I've had the chance and the privilege to work with quite a few of you that are currently sitting on the stage. Ask the questions as if I was a child, so please ignore, but please answer. So let's start. For me, one of the things in the world of eventing is storytelling, and I feel like you can't be what actually brought you into the world of events. Francesca.
Hello? Okay, good.
Perfect.
So, my name is Francesca and I work with Force Cleaning Services, as mentioned before. And when we started off, our focus was on cleaning. We were looking at post-construction cleaning, office cleaning, home cleaning. So it was when we did a job for a client, and then she recommended us to Abokoma of Purple 12, and so she asked us to do an events cleaning for her, and then we thought, okay, it's a good thing to venture into. So we said, okay, we're hopping on. We did, and for all the jobs that we have and we're handling, events cleaning tops all.
Okay.
So we end up
was going to be, and as well be define exactly what our services were going to be and how it was going to help. In
Mr. Alexander.
Yeah, thank you very much. On our part, security, as you all know, is just about making sure people are secure wherever they are. So for us, event is part of the foundation of our organization. Good marks. We have three core areas that we focus on. We focus on event security, we focus on providing escort VIP services, and mark gathering. And this is actually the foundation for all that we do. And in Ghana, we can say that one of the leading organizations or security companies when it comes to events organization. Thank you.
January, so I'm going to jump back to you. Remember I said I'd go back to basics. So you said guest services. Can you just elaborate on what guest services means, just in case there are people in here that don't understand what that means?
Okay.
Or what that entails?
Hello.
So, get me content because
when you happen to come to an event, you expect that someone will, out of courtesy, receive you and show you how to navigate your way around the event space. But whereas you have an event, you, the host, cannot get that done by yourself. So you we can ensure that this is done seamlessly without people feeling that
with some of these things. We see events happening and people want their cousins or "Oh, let's get some guy, organize some guys in the neighborhood to look after the cars and all of those things. It's all fine. At times we enjoy observing it. But the fundamental truth that keeps us going is the fact that every event, there are two key stakeholders from the security point of view. There is the one who is organizing the event, and there is the one whose mission is to make sure the event don't work out. Fortunately, you don't get to know those people. In security, we call them the adversary. So, to digress a little bit, the work of security is for us to be thinking like the criminals, so that we anticipate what the criminal will do. Or if even we are the criminals coming to destroy your event, we anticipate what we will do to destroy it. And then we fill those gaps so that we make sure that your event is well protected. So for us, this has been interesting.
So what measures does, just give us a little bit, just an example, what measures does Goldmax take when it comes to those points of you having to think like a criminal? Because as an event planner, I'll tell you this, one of the issues we have is trying to get any of you on board for our events. It's literally pulling teeth to clients, right? I mean, we're gonna constantly reinforce the fact that, hey, you need this cleaning service, you need the security, and so on and so forth. But I'm curious to know what measures you take, so at least we can chime on that when we have our next meetings with clients.
Yeah, great. So basically, the first thing we do when we are called into any event is to do risk assessment. Most of the times, 80 to 90% of the job is done behind the scene before you see the men standing there. They come there with a plan to execute. You want to find out, are you working in a closed, is your event in a closed environment? Where are the people going to park? Is it open space? What kind of guests are you expecting? Are you looking out for a certain level of VIPs? Do you have people that need to be given special attention? We put in all of these things. We have a thorough checklist that we have to go through. It helps us to identify really what is needed for the event. So our activities are based on, it's event specific. So it's not like, we've come across situations where somebody will come and say, I'm having a program, bring me 2 guards, or bring me 2 security to come and man the place. And we're like, how do you even conclude that you needed to? So what risk assessment have you done? The 2 people we are giving you, where are they going to be? What exactly are you going to use them to prevent or otherwise? And these are the things we do to ensure that we are able to adequately, as it were, bring that level of safety or security required for any events we are called upon.
Okay, so I'm sure there have definitely been challenges in all our industries since working here. Just based off of what you just said, if a client does insist on your 2, do you turn that business down?
Well, there are some occasions when we feel, you see, security is the fundamental principle of security is risk assessment. And every decision we take must be based on calculated risk. Remember, when we come and, as it were, secure your event, we also carry a certain level of liability. Incidents. Because, look, if you, right now, if you are having an incident, you are having a program without security, and something happens right now in the middle, even if it's left with 30 minutes, you will call us. That you want security right now. When we even say 30 people, you don't mind. You just bring them. Let's come and make sure this thing is settled. Meanwhile, all these things could have been prevented if it is aforeplanned. We, of course, because we work with the event planners and the organizers, when they come and they give, because when they share their plan and they share it with us, based on their plan and their vision for the program, we also design a security plan that fits into their expectation. fact, the other part also is that when you are using multiple vendors that are not organized within even a single system, that in itself is even a risk for the event.
Yeah.
But let me just limit it to what we do and then hand over to Madam.
Janrita, what would you say over the last let's say 5 years, how would you define the importance of ushering in terms of its growth in the industry? Just if you were, let's say, prior to COVID and post-COVID.
Okay, so back then, people really didn't see the relevance of using ushers. They believed they could do everything by themselves. So once you book an event planner, they believe she's going to handle everything, but forgets to book someone to manage their guests. So fast forward to events, what we used to people didn't see book ushers because they saw them to be more like pretty faces. It's just about saying hello, you're welcome, and they're done. They don't do anything else. They cross their legs and sit somewhere else. But there's actually more to it than just saying hello, you're welcome, because like I said, courtesy-wise, once you come into someone's home, ideally they expect that you come to see them or receive them into their home, or you send someone to at least pick them from the gate and bring them in. In the case of us being ushers, it makes it easier for us to stand in and be the first point of call, bring you in, help you navigate your way around the event space. Back to COVID, people saw our relevance in the sense that we were able to help issue out masks and hand sanitizers to ensure that everyone is protected. But even after COVID, now people are seeing more of the relevance of ushers, knowing that they're not just people who just say hello and issue out, nose masks and sanitizers, but they go more into details, into directing people and helping them navigate their way around the event space, helping coordinate food service from table to table, helping people with mobility issues get their food or usher them into the washroom as and when they are asking, knowing where to exactly send gifts to, and many more. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a formula that you use to determine how many ushers you would use per event?
So ideally, we try to map 20 guests to one hostess.
Okay.
Yes. So in the case where one is booking for 200 guests for an event, we mostly propose you use about 10. But if it's one that's a very strictly by event, then we mostly advise you add a few more. Also looking at the kind of events you're using. There are some event spaces that you enter and the landscape is just obvious. People can just know this is where the event is happening. But there are certain places like, let me say, Labadi, for instance. Once you enter through Labadi, there are about 3 entry points into entering Labadi. There's one here, there's one around the car park, and the other car park. So you need to be able to have a team that will be more of directional signs to show people where to go. So in that case, we may be compelled to ask for more ushers than the usual, because you have the Labadi suite, you have the Manye Hall, you have the Dome as well, and the Manye Gardens, yeah.
So just piggybacking off that point, obviously picking a venue is very important, and obviously in also defining your roles. So case in point, we're at Labadi. Francis, you can tell me, how would you come into play at a venue like this? Because obviously the hotel would say they have their own cleaners, or they would say they have their own security, maybe not ushers. But for the two of you, how do you provide your services in public venues like this?
For though the hotel has cleaners, no, they don't have them during the event doing the hands-on picking as the event is going on. So that's where we come in. So even if they would do their cleaning before the event or after the event, we have to be there.
Okay.
Especially for weddings, parties, there'll be a lot of eating around and all that. So as we are in there, we are picking up whatever falls so that the program is not messy at all. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's welcoming for the guests. They come in and they feel like, oh, you respect them enough to keep the space clean for them. Unlike places you go, someone is eating, there's litters on the table, litters on the floor, there's water on the floor, someone might slip and there'll be an accident. Obviously, we want to have the happy times. So it's ideal that we're in there to make sure whatever mishap that happens, we cater for that.
Go next.
There's never too much security. And I'm here to see when we can say we have more security for us, sure. Thank you. So, like I indicated, there can never be too much security. Remember that the security that the hotel has is for the hotel. Their mission, we have something we called post instructions. When you put a security man in a particular post, we issue what we call post instructions. And they have specific instructions as to what they should be doing at that place. If you are having your event may not feed into their instructions. You remember that they are in charge of the entire security of the facility. That includes ours. And most of the times we don't take notice. I haven't checked here anyway because when I came, I just drove to the back there. But for most of the hotels and the public areas, when you enter, they will tell you that if anybody breaks into your car or if you lose any valuable, it's at your own expense. You see it boldly written at the car park. But if you are running an event and the safety of your guests importance to you, and you have us providing that security, then the safety of their things now becomes our primary responsibility. Keeping of the event venue, getting people who come and crash into the events, people who have intentions of just walking through, especially wedding, somebody may come and just want to create unnecessary confusion. All of these things are the fundamental reasons why you need security. And in fact, at times we even make mistakes when we ask before you start setting up. And there is a reason for it. Anytime you see anybody, okay, let me even use a practical example we all know. Before the president of Ghana moves, people have been on the ground about 2-3 days, making sure everything is in order. The things that can harm your events at times may happen. Go and set up for events. The technicians, after setting it up, when they left, some guys came around and they were just cutting all the power cables, all the cables. In typical Ghana, we call it a brownie bayi. Oh, that's not Ghana. Oh, it's true. Sorry, I missed the languages. All right.
Okay. So I would say collaboration is also quite key, especially as vendors in the industry. I guess the good pairing would be security and ushering, right? Can you guys elaborate times where you've worked together and how you define your roles? Because I can also imagine it intertwining to some degree.
Okay.
So mostly in events that are strictly by invitation, we are supposed to work with a guest list. We've also been given our briefing as to what to do with the guest list. Most of the times we try to give the guest an access card after checking them in. But there are some people who just come in because they see lots of people by the table, just think that they can quickly have their way in there. That's where security comes to play for us, because without the access card, you're not supposed to be allowed entry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that most of these, the assigning of rules, rule description, and what each vendor will be doing is part of the pre-event briefing. So if we are working together with the ushers, when we get there, we know that this is the nature of the events, and this is what the ushers are doing, and this is what we are doing. But our role never mix up, because you see, the ushers are there to ensure that the participants are comfortable. They feel at home, they enjoy the events. We are there to make sure they are secured.
Collect stuff, so we have to work according to time. So depending on the event space, we know what to bring along to make sure that everything is done and done well. Even for refuse disposal, how it's done, because we kind of have refuse right by where people are eating, so we have to organize entry points for the refuse collection and what have you. Pretty much that's it.
Well, so for us, my CEO, Mr. Maxwell Owusu, he's a certified. I don't know. Is Mr. Maxwell here?
Maxwell?
Oh, Maxwell, please. Maxwell, please. He is my employer. He's been paying me well. Maybe we get
can't
him
see
to
you.
say a word.
Yeah, we actually can't see you.
Yes.
We must see you.
Okay. So, and then Maxwell is a certified protection professional, and I am also a certified protection professional, and we have about 3 other people within our organization who are also certified protection professionals, and that is the highest qualification you can get in the professional security industry. So maybe just to maybe let's say that in the accounting, you're a chartered accountant or something like that. That is just about the highest you can get.
So who governs that?
Well, that is an international certification, and is in the U.S.
Okay.
by association of, we call it ASIS International. And every security professional in the world belongs to that organization. That is if the person is acting professionally. It has over 60,000 membership all around the world. And I mean, almost every year we go for international conferences. I mean, I was in Austria last 2 months, and I think he's just coming from a meeting in the UK. And we just keep that because we need to bring, I mean, security now is being globalized. And we need to bring the same standard of service, the same standard of delivery to our local market. That is why we may seem a little bit above the line, but we have made the right investments and to ensure that our customers get value for money.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Perfect.
So in our case, most of the times is determined basically by the clients that we work with, how they want our guest management to go. Someone may say, open the gates for everyone to come in. Someone may say, go strictly by guest list. Some may also say, we don't want any phones into the event, so all phones should be left outside. So it depends on the clients you're working with and how they want us to go about managing their guests and their events as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go on to fun stuff. Can any of you narrate any interesting story that you can reference whereby you walked away thinking you felt great because for that incident the client specifically needed you and hence the reason why your services are so important?
Well,
Okay, so since we are guest managers, one thing is we are not just looking out for guests, but also working with vendors to ensure that we work together as one body for the event. No one single vendor can ensure the complete success of an event unless we all come together. So there was a time in Ebri where there was a wedding, and after the whole setup, it started raining heavily just when most of the guests had walked in. So we had to nicely escort the guests to a room with shed and seats for them to sit. Right after the event, it's not part of our work to help a decor team set up their space right after the event, but considering the fact that we are working together as a team and we are all looking at the success of the event, we had to all go all hands on to ensure that we set up with them, ensure the place is ready to receive guests, and later on ushered guests in. And it was a lovely event after, yeah.
So I'm thinking it's the same event she's talking about. I want to talk about too. It was one of these high-profile weddings, and I mean after the setup, it was raining all through. So if the cleaners were not there, it would have been messy. So it was an outside canopy, and the rain kept flooding in. So the cleaners had to be there, make sure the cleaning it was continuous. They didn't rest.
Wow.
It was continuous. So at the end of the day, they even had to help bring umbrellas to bring the guests in and all of that. After everything, and we saw how dried up and clean the place was, I felt like, okay, these guys have really worked hard. We've really worked hard. And it turned out to be beautiful. We were afraid that the flood was going to mess up the program, but because the guys were there, they did a great job.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Alexander?
well, I mean, for
We
us.
want the juicy stories.
Oh, okay. Well, for us as security, strangely, we always get to enjoy the better part of the occasion. Even though you think we are rather the people who, you know, we miss out everything. But let me just maybe use there are so many, but I don't think any of them can really fit into this conversation. Maybe let me use the year of return. Is it a year of?
Yeah.
Yes. When, in fact, we actually did a lot of we provided most of the VIP and then diplomatic security for the guests that came. And we're sending them to this place, Cape Coast, where they wanted to see some of these interesting places. And when they got there, it was like, you know, the indigents knowing that it's the year of return, and they were saying that, initially they said we should allow them to feel free. So our guys had to then leave them, you know, because when you are trying to protect them, they were thinking that you are preventing them from interacting with the indigent. Right. But we have done our risk assessment. We know where we're telling them, no, they want to have fun. I can't tell the story because some of you might have heard of it, but they really had real fun. And now they started begging us. In fact, they don't even want to move an inch without us. And some of them, especially those who were staying at Moving Pick, they actually said that they want our guards to be staying in the hotel with them 24/7. And in fact, what happened? I was just going to say it, but I just realized, no, let me not go into too much details. But our thing is just about fun. When you are in it here, you are going through the program. You need to know what we deal with. Yeah. Those who come and they are drunk and they are like, do you know that girl is my girlfriend? Do you know that I am the uncle of this person? And if you don't take care, I can bring everything to it. No, in fact, maybe all of you should join security for like a moment. And when you come security, you will never go back. I am telling you, we have the most of all fans. Wow. And then maybe the last one guy entered into an event and his backpack, even, when we said we will search everybody going, he said the kind of guest he's receiving, no, we shouldn't search anybody, It's a high-profile event, too. He said, no, I know my people. They were inside, we were outside. Before we realized, everybody was running away from the room coming out. One of the guys that he said we should not search, the guy was having a sidearm with him. Wow. And the guy got drunk. And he was just waving the gun. I tell you, I don't think I can enjoy any other profession than I do with security.
We all should write a book.
So please, come and join us. You will love it. Well, security, we can share stories the whole day. So, but for the sake of time, maybe we can move on.
Okay.
Right.
So I know definitely I've been around where, we've both encountered some very unexpected incidences at an event. And I remember off the top of my head, Janita, there was one event whereby the client had said to us it was 500 people. And literally, as an hour to the event, Janita comes and says, there is no way these people standing outside at 500. We're talking 800 people. But I mean, we literally literally, without her telling me what was going on outside, I wouldn't have known for us to quickly make a plan to even get an extra, I don't even know how we did it, but how to get these 300 extra chairs just to make sure we covered all bases. And the same went for security as well, because now we're literally, I'm sure I've called you a million times in the middle of the night to say, so we're having a problem here. So I mean, in terms of challenges and stuff like that, obviously, it's not all the time that you have, quote unquote, a CEO or like a lead manager. How does your team, right then and there, because Jenny, so you obviously can't be at every single event, but how does your team make decisions when things, the heat of the moment?
Well, as for security, we usually don't have that problem because we have what we call in the command line, you know, security, we always have a chain of command. So anytime we have about 3 to 4 guards or protection personnel deployed to a place, we know who is the lead person, who comes after him. In fact, they know without being told. This person knows that this is my senior man, that is my senior man, that is my senior man. And events must go through that chain. And because what we do is that we usually have briefing before events. We simulate some of these things before they even come. Like when we are coming for an event, we know the area. We know that, okay, this area, there are weed smokers in this corner. This is the challenge we are likely to face. This area, crime is high. This is what we are likely to face. Now, guests will be parking by the road. These are the challenges we are going to face. So we kind of go through quite a number of these scenarios, and we determine the best course of action before we come on the field. It is only when there is an element of surprise, which we usually get, like the one you are talking about. Yep. Somebody says, I'm expecting only 30 people, and the event turned out to be 300. You know, so it has implication on numbers, it has implication on security, it has implications on almost everything. And in such situations, we also have our escalation procedures. So, but there are some incidents where, depending on the nature of the incident, if it has to do with dealing with people and the rest, you can end with the manager who is looking after that side. If it's going to have some serious financial implications, it must go beyond him to maybe the CEO or something. So we simulate quite a lot of this, and it works perfectly. Because, you know, in our area, it's obey before complain. So if we send you there, we say, if this happens, do this. When it happens, you just have to do that. You cannot think for yourself in some of the events. That's why we think for you before we bring you to the site. Okay. Right, thank you.
Okay, so for us, we mostly liaise with the planner all the time. If there are any changes on the ground, guest numbers increase, and for instance, the seats are almost all taken. Mind you, most of the events happen in 2 phases, mostly a ceremony part, and the other part being mostly the cocktail and the reception part. So in the case where a ceremony is ongoing and looks like the numbers we're expecting are way above the numbers that were mentioned to us, automatically we are understaffed, but we still put on we still try and give out our best, and we also look out by listening to the event planner and telling her exactly what the challenge is. Then we can think on the ground together if we can get chairs from the reception area and move them into the ceremony area, just so that just when the ceremony is officially done and they're having cocktail, we can quickly break down the ceremony area and retransform the space to more seating area for the guests. But everything we do, we actually liaise with the clients we're working with. Yeah.
So I would say one of the things in terms of challenges as well, just again, reiterating what you just said, when you have traditional marriages, for example, you always have a break between, you know, the ceremony and the reception. And in your mind, on my side, the clients would have said, you know, if anybody comes early, they have to sit in the ceremony side only. We don't want people in the reception. And then we start the ceremony, and there's some elderly lady who's coming who says, you don't know who I am, I have to sit here, so on and so forth. we go through this quite a bit because you obviously have an issue of cultural as well in terms of, okay, well, you can't really, I can't open my mouth and say, you know, my client has said, it's like, who's your client? Your client, you understand where I'm coming from. And I'm sure we've all gone through this as well. Maybe you guys can also chime in terms of that experience, because I know there have been times where we've had heated situations with that.
Okay, so there was a wedding here at Labadi some years ago, and we were asked to go strictly by invitation and the guest list. And the bride that apparently I think paid for the entire event, and I think he was missing a few of his friends' names in there, and he asked that I let his friend in. But again, going by the briefing that's been given, totally everyone is equal. You just need to listen to the instructions that have been given. And if you want to make any changes, ideally you have to run it by the planner, who would go forward to also run it by the bride if she's okay with it. The bride that says, if we don't allow his friend in, this wedding will not take place. Yes, and he meant it because truly he did pay for everything. So he wants his friends in. The only thing the planner had to do was, please allow him in. There's another instance where the bride's dad said he wants to let in his friend. He was, I think, a colonel or something. And truth be told, his name wasn't on the list. And one of the reasons why we mostly don't use our discretion to decide who gets to come into the event is we don't know what the bride may have encountered with whoever is coming in,
Right.
or what the family may have encountered with whoever is coming in. Irrespective of how close you look like to the bride, the instruction is work with the guest list. So the brides that came and said, let my friend in, he's a colonel. I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm working with the instructions given me. If you could kindly hold on briefly, I'll reach out to the planner and get back to him. He said, you don't have respect for old age.
Yeah.
Do you know why? I said, sir, I'm really sorry, but I'm just trying to reconfirm that and liaise that with the planner, and I'll get back to you. So just a few seconds after he has just ended his conversation with me, the planner came out. Janrita, the bride said her father's friend is coming in. Please let them. I was just like, I'm really sorry for holding you here, but I can kindly walk you in now. And it was over and done with, yeah. But at times it's just good to just stick to your rules and work with instructions you've been given, yeah.
Okay. So for us as cleaners, one challenge that we've had recurring is, okay, the planner will tell you the event starts at 6 and ends at 8. 8, yeah, let's just say 8. Okay, so my crew get there, maybe 5. And one wedding that we had, we're cleaning at, they said it was going to end at 8. Then, as at 9, they were now taking off heels and bringing in slippers for them to change and wear and continue dancing. My people were exhausted. They were like, we came so early and now. So what I do is to encourage them, oh, we're going to finish just now, and then at least motivates them somehow so that they're not discouraged from working.
Yeah.
So it's just about the time factor.
Obviously, things like that is fine when it's once, but then when it becomes a pattern and a habit, then obviously it makes it even difficult for you as a business owner to even try and explain that to your guests. I mean, to your staff. One of the questions I would ask you would be, I guess that's also the reason why we're all here, and Perpetua, I don't know where Bakuma is, but obviously giving us the platform for us to talk about things, right? Because we've all laughed and we've all done the when these comments are being made, because obviously some of us have actually experienced this. What would you say culturally we should be doing, or industry-wise we should be doing, so it's not a situation whereby this becomes a habit? Because it's one thing when there's a planner thing, it's another thing when it's a client that's doing this over and over again, because it can get frustrating, you know. So what would you say collectively we all need to be doing to just make sure that, you know, our rules are rules, and it's really for the success of the event? I mean, we've all said, yeah, we were able to maneuver and work in the times where the situations were bad, but I mean, this example of 500 people and 800 people show up. If there are no chairs, there are no chairs. But I assure you at that point, they're not going to sit there and say, we invited 300 people extra. It becomes Janrita's people, let's other people in who we didn't invite, or Gold Max didn't check and allowed, you know. So what would you say, or what advice would you guys give?
I think, truth of the matter, we all know the number of friends and loved ones we have. So let's be realistic, we go for lots of events. So ideally, when you're going for lots of events, you expect that when it's your event or when it's your awards event, you expect lots of people. So ideally, if most clients could be very realistic about what their numbers are, it would help. And again, in setting up for a guest number that you know could be more, you could also consider doing maybe a 10% increment on your logistics, just in case the numbers shoot up. And I also think it's very fair enough if a lot of event persons are able to be really honest and truthful about the nature of their events, because you could be booked for an event that says it's an engagement, and you go as an engagement, they break for cocktail area, they now break in to do the wedding blessing, now they go and
So
do
do
reception.
you find that the communication there was from the planner?
Most of the time it is, because they are the ones who come booking.
Okay.
So, and you could actually, it's the family who is paying. So it shouldn't be much of your problem telling us exactly the nature of the event,
Right.
and also spelling out the exact roles you want the
Mhm.
ushers to play. Because I've gone to an event where we've been told that the ushers will dance. Don't tell us that you want us to be dancing in with. Some people go for events and dance. So yes, some ushers go for events and dance.
Got it. Okay.
When guests are dancing, they're also dancing with
Okay.
them. Professionally, it's not right, but once they've seen that it's happening somewhere,
Okay.
they think everyone does the same way. So ideally, if you can really specify what our exact roles are and what you really expect from us, it makes our work really easy.
Got it.
Yeah.
We are watchmen. Oh. Our duty is to watch. But I think that just to also throw in a little bit on the planners and the event organizing part of things. You know, most of the people we've been working with are very experienced, like as in very experienced event planners. And of course, we are happy to have you as one of the
Thank you.
key people that when I came, I was telling her that have we forgotten what I said? We are alive because of you. I remember I said that, yes, and of course, and people and all of those things. But you see, at times, to some of the others, you don't know the challenge they have in telling the client the truth,
Yeah.
because really, if you have been in this business for long and you go and somebody tells you, I'm going to have my engagement and my guest is 30. When you, you know, just by looking at even the family members alone, you know that the 30 or whatever the person is
I
saying.
think the family is not guests. The people who are in the house are not guests.
No, what I'm saying is the family. You see,
No, I'm teasing because they don't count them as guests.
Yes, but you even
so the
talk
guests are
about,
the 30, then the family members are 20.
and you even talk about, I'm bringing in the cultural issue.
Exactly.
Because in our culture, if my sister is going to marry, I have my own guest list, which is independent of her own.
Of course.
And what has even worsened the case is now that we even send invitation by WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how you can even. I don't know, but now I want to. Even though you are the moderator, I want to draw on your experience. How do you determine guest list if you are sending invitation by WhatsApp?
It is tricky, and we've had some crazy incidences like that. I mean, what I would say is you pray that your client is able to give you as much info as possible. I mean, we go through a very detailed consultation. And obviously off the top of my head, if they say to us that, oh, we're gonna send it on WhatsApp, I'm like, hey guys, these are the pros and cons. And sometimes, to be very frank, they haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
You know, it almost seems like it's a trendy thing to do, so let's do. It's not so much they've thought about whether it's actually practical or not. So it's up to us also as the planners to also inform the guests as to the pros and cons in these decision makings. Because a lot of times, maybe you'd have a bride who, you know, lives in Canada. She's seen this in Canada, wants to come and implement that in Ghana. Sometimes it's just not realistic. You know, so it can be a bit tricky, but I think out of all of it, communication, asking, you need to ask as many questions as possible, because sometimes they also just don't know.
And advise them, if you don't want people to come, don't invite anybody from your own students association. Because by inviting, you know, I think it's quite tricky though, because I'm saying this on your side of things as well, because if one person gets to know, hey, Kwame is married, hey, that foolish boy is getting married, they don't even need invitation. One person will say, put it on the page, the guy is getting married, though, it's finished. That alone, plan 100 before you come in. So it's, and I think that for us as security and I may think to a large extent, maybe the cleaning and ushering and all of these things, we will provide what typically is called support service. Because our frontliners are usually the event planners. When they say go, we go. When they say stop, we stop. Unless the client comes to us directly to procure our service. And some of these things, the main people that can influence it is the event planners, those who are at the forefront. Because it's the planner that will come and tell me, look, the event is happening here. This is the place. Then I say, okay, fine. We also get our team members. Guys, go and look at the place and do whatever you need to do. So we work based on what we are told. So, in fact, the WhatsApp is purely their headache and all the other things that come with it. And then the stubborn family members. Mm-hmm. You see that auntie that thought you would never marry. And you are marrying. Oh, she will bring all the people from the village. You are not, you say you don't want your village people to know. And your mother says, oh, let's tell your auntie so that at least they will know you married. Forget it. You have about 30 people coming. You are there in the morning and they come with the bus. Are you going to sack them? Yeah. So contingency planning becomes the key. And I think we should factor contingency fee.
We do.
No, I mean increase it more in the planning so that well, I don't know.
It's important. Right.
Yeah. So another thing is that cleaning is a part of events that people don't really focus on, especially when it's at home, a home event. Yeah. They'll tell you, my people from the village will come. This one will do this. This one will do that. So for one client that we worked for, the mother didn't want them to book for cleaners because my cousins are there, they will do the sweeping. You've gone to pay this amount for cleaners to come in. Yeah. So we went in there, and the scope that the planners told us was that the events grounds, that's where we were going to work, and the washrooms. Mm-hmm. Now, the woman who didn't want the cleaners to come in said, so my tia says, Kana, they should come and clean the room, they should come and clean here. And she was angry. And she was bombarding my guys. You've been paid this amount of money. You don't want to now come and clean the room. I mean, what did we pay you? It's quite tough. But because she was an early person, we had to just do it for her. But the request kept coming. And you go to the planner, it's like, you try and... Yeah. But it's tough for the guys because they know this is where we were told to come and clean, and now you're doing somewhere.
You might even have another job.
Exactly. Day, so we just do it anyway. Yeah. But I mean, every one of us should know that cleaning is a very important aspect when it comes to events management. Okay. When the place is clean, your guests know that you respect them enough to keep the place clean for them. Very, very important.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back into the audience if anybody has any questions for our panelists before we... Any questions, comments?
Please, you show by hand, and I will bring you the microphone.
There's another.
My name is Augustus. I want to pick up from a point Tamara made. Sometimes the client or couple don't avert their minds to so many things. For instance, when it talk about time management, moving from the hotel or the house where the bride dresses up to the church, they might tell you, the church is 15 minutes away from the house, so we'll just, by 10:30 we are done, so roughly by 45. Meanwhile, moving from the bedroom to the porch would take like 20 minutes because mother wants to take another picture in the hall, the auntie too will come in, and so sometimes when brides or clients come, we need to be realistic with them and just draw a timeline for them. Yeah. Because if we don't, they might be caught unawares. And again, parents especially get carried away. When they come to a reception and the hall is so beautiful and all that, all of a sudden they want their friends to be chairman of the occasion and all that, and they start putting... So I also want to ask, how do we then ensure that the job is done, because if the parent is not halted, it will affect the work of the cleaning.
For sure.
It will also affect the work of the decor and styling team, who would have to tear down and all that. And sometimes hotels have timelines. Maybe there's another event. And so as professionals, how do we ensure that these things are curtailed? Because there are occasions that a bride or couple will not get a planner.
Yeah.
They themselves might just get all people together and may tell a friend that, oh, ensure that this. And so when things are going on realistically, when there's no plan and things are going haywire, and you see, how do you come in this?
I mean, I guess at that point they wouldn't have called us, so we wouldn't be there anyway. But what I would say is, in the last 15 years, I would say I'm hopeful in the sense that the world of eventing in Ghana has changed completely. So 15 years ago, I remember my first couple of meetings, it was literally the parents. If I was lucky, the bride would come. If I was lucky. The groom I never saw until until the day. But fast forward now, the parents are not as involved. You know, maybe they're the ones financing, but they're not really involved in the running of the event. Maybe you might see them on the day. But I would say communication is key, you know, and to be very frank, just again, going back to what I said, sometimes they just don't know, you know. It's very easy to watch things on Instagram, watch things on TV and think, you know, somebody's there waving a magic wand and it's done. But the point is there's a lot that goes into it, and without those discussions, they truly don't, they have no idea. They have no idea. So I would say it's not so much you enforcing that they have to do, but I think people also appreciate when you're able to give examples, you know. So you've heard situations like this, and there's nothing wrong with referencing, you know what, I've heard this go down somewhere else. I definitely don't want to be referenced to something like that. So just, you know, we learn from our mistakes. So somebody else has made that mistake and they've learned the hard way. Let's just try and move forward and make sure that we don't run through those problems as well. But you have to be able to ask. And it's also studying your clients, you know, because sometimes if you're talking to the auntie or the grandmother and all that kind of stuff, you have to find your own form of communication, you know. So the person that you feel like you rapport best with, it's okay to almost be silent in the meetings, and sometimes after that, call the person aside and just say, hey, these are my concerns based off our conversations. And that alone, you find that they open up more and they'll take that information, you know, because they also communicate in their back end better than you, the stranger, coming to talk to that person. And sometimes they also come in a very defensive way, you know, so you have to be able to maneuver to try and figure out their language, if that makes sense. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say.
Oh, me, I'm security.
You're security.
But that's maybe, I think that it's a matter of probably creating more awareness.
Yeah.
I think so. It's about really people, you know, there are people who don't even know why they need an event planner. And some of them, they will bring you there as the event planner, but virtually, they are like planning their own thing. Nothing, no advice you give them will make them change their mind. It's like what you said earlier, see something happening somewhere else, and it's like, it must happen here. I think it's about that. But in all fairness, look, most of these problems, when you have watchmen there, your problems are solved. For us, when you say sack all the people in the room at 12 o'clock, time is so. We will be on you like a familiar spirit. You know, so I think basically that's what we should be doing. But for us, we are in the support. We drive behind those who actually do the event. If she says, Maxwell, this is what we want to be done, don't listen to anybody. We love that kind of statement. Especially when you say, don't listen to anybody. You know how I work. Obey before what? We deliver to the latter.
I would just like to,
There was a question from
yeah, before we get to the question, just reiterating on time, you know, as a co-vendor, as an MC, I tell people all the time, I've never been late to a Ghanaian wedding before. Never. And it's only because Ghanaian weddings operate on Ghana man time very, very well. Like so I was very interested in what you were saying for Boss, because then it means that all the vendors down the line, when you go and have a meeting and it says it's going to be 3 hours, you then sometimes tend to go and tell your people it's going to be 5 hours, just so you try and mitigate all of that. And I think as co-vendors in a room, it's something we really need to come together to speak about very much, because it costs us all time when you are charging by the hour. Like my rate card says after 4 hours, every hour comes with a charge, and it has never worked before. Because because the after 4 hours always, I can be standing at a wedding I went for a wedding where they were done with the setup on the inside, okay? But my favorite people, the cameramen, had to go and take videos. And we stood behind the door for an hour, 30 minutes while they were doing that. The Tozafi I had inside couldn't appease my soul for having stood outside for an hour and a half. So I think it's something that we need to really, come together and discuss as vendors, timekeeping. Very, very important. We have one question here, and then I'll come down to the next question down there.
Please, this is just by the way. This is for Jan Rita. Jan Rita, do you have old women as ashes?
Older women?
Yes, as ashes. Yes.
And why not?
Because the nature of our work demands that we stand for a very long time. And if you are coming into the event and you're an old lady, how are you going to help the older ones as well? Yes, so. Maxwell, but how about you? Do you have old men as security men?
I think you have to answer that.
Well,
Please, I'm not a panelist.
Even though he's not a panelist, Chief, even though he's not a panelist, I want him to say something, then I continue for him. Okay. And also for the record, if you see some old men that are security men, it's called survivor. Just for the record. So you need some of them, you need them to take, but we don't use them for events. They don't go anywhere near events. They don't go anywhere near special services. It's maybe like somebody who wants maybe a stationary position that they just want presence. Remember that when anybody needs our service, we actually interview you to appreciate what you need the person to do. And if it's something that an elderly person can do, especially old soldier, old police, and the old men that belongs to the forces, that unfortunately, when they are in service, they forget we exist. But when they retire, they come to us. We are very generous people. So are we not? We accept them. Thank you.
It's interesting to note that in Janrita's line of work, 25 is retirement age. On to our next question.
Okay, I'm Vicky. Janita, when you were talking, you spoke about some events that require no phones. So how do you coordinate that? Because I've been to events where the couple specifically said there are no phones allowed, and it was such a hurdle getting the guests to not bring their phones inside. So how do you?
Okay, so there are mostly a team of people who actually have the logistics for picking the phones and giving you one card to hold on. So once I pick your card and I give you number 12, you keep one copy of number 12, I keep one with your phone. Yeah, so that's how it mostly works.
Yeah, and then from the security perspective, she will take the card, but we will enforce. So just to come in a little bit, we want to believe that if you are coming for a program that is strictly no phone, then it has been pre-communicated to you. So if you came with your phone, then it means you are ready to leave it with us and go for the event and come back. And there is usually a pack. There's a pack for each phone, depending on the nature of the program, there are some programs that we have special boxes that when you come, we lock it and you go with your key. Then when you come back, you open and then you take your phone and then you go away. But if you want to test our muscles, then we can also, we can do that together.
And even with that, security always has a way to scan through your bags without even opening it, and they can tell if you have a phone in. So once they say no phone, it's just important you abide by it, because they will surely scan you before you enter. Yeah.
I'm curious to find out if there are any brides or grooms in the audience specifically, or are we all event people? Brides to be. So we're all in the industry, pretty much, right? You're a bride to be. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, apart from that one
There's
question.
one here.
There is? Okay. Apart from that one question, are there any other questions that you would like to ask anybody, just based off of maybe just what you've been curious about?
Hi.
Hi.
So I just have been curious about some two commonalities between Mr. Akwe and then Janrita. They made mention of the fact that they most often go strictly by the books, what they've been ordered to do. Have you had instances where the order you were given on the day of the event, you realize that it may have a serious effect on your work? Because at the end of the day, I come from the point of view where you have prospective clients in the crowd. You don't want to come across like, because you don't have the chance all the time to explain yourself. You don't want to come across like you are unprofessional. How are you able to balance that when you, because one of you mentioned that, I think Janrita, you don't want to go against the word of the client. But when it's going to affect your work, especially you realize it on the day, how are you able to handle that so that it doesn't look bad on you? I have had so many cases like that. I had to learn the hard way.
Okay, so like I said before, we always report to the planner or the coordinator on the ground. There's been instances when we're working with a guest list and we'll be told to shun the guest list totally by parents of the bride or the groom. I may shun it, but I may have to still run it by the planner, because she also has to pre-run it by the bride before I can completely discard the guest list. So you may give me an order, I may have to work with it all right, but in working with it, whatever I do has to be communicated to the client I'm working with, because I do not have the sole responsibility to do what I want to do on the event, yes.
And also, just to piggyback off of that, it's important that you know before your event who is making the decision. So, you know, again, if you're planning a wedding a year, you definitely would meet a grandma, you would meet an uncle, you meet the bride, you meet the groom, you meet the in-laws, you know. On the day, everybody feels like it's their event, you know. So technically on your side, you have 100 clients that you're working with, right? But in effect, there's only one client. So a lot of times, even before the actual event, you need to talk to whoever. And it can be a group decision. Guys, on the day, I need to know who I'm supposed to get direct instructions from. You know, because we've had situations where it's like, oh no, the times where we fight for ushers and we say we need them, you know, and they're like, no, my cousin is the cousin's the first person on the dance floor. You know what I mean? So on the planner side, it's also quite difficult for us to enforce the fact that, hey, you need it. But when they do make these decisions, you need to have that one person, because you have somebody else coming at you with, I am this person, I'm that person. And it's okay to just say, unfortunately, I'm following Nancy's instruction. They will deal with that. Once you have somebody to fall back on, when you don't have somebody and it's like, okay, I don't know, it's my client, who's my client? You know, or it's the bride. The father will tell you she's not the one paying. You understand where I'm coming from? So just through your communication, just find, and there's nothing wrong with saying, listen, guys, on that day, I know somebody's going to be drunk, I know people are going to be emotional, and it's a lot of emotion, you know. So ask, who do I take instruction from on that day? So there's actually nothing wrong with that.
Okay, coming back to Janreta, you seem to be very dependent on the planners. It's not a bad thing, but I'm asking, what if you have an incompetent planner, or coordinator, because most of the time yours is executory? How does, because some of the coordinators actually mess you up big time. So then it tends to look like you didn't do your job. So I think that's a direction I'm coming from. I've had a situation where I had a bride who didn't seem to know what exactly she wanted. Her mom stepped in, gave me the brief. She agreed because I had a meeting with that bride and her mom. Then there's this auntie they kept talking about. And I decided that, can I meet this auntie? Because they kept saying, oh, when it comes to the event design aspect, she's more of like an interior decorator, so she's like good with that. She decides the design for any event they have, but she's been busy. That's why she hasn't been in a picture. So I insisted that we have a meeting with this auntie, because I just knew that she was going to be trouble on the day. When we met her, I realized that the kind of things she wanted for the event, the bride's mom, who is paying, didn't really want that. She wanted something more subtle. This auntie wanted more of like everything. At the end of the day, when the bill comes, the mom would say, can you take it out? So it became like a back and forth thing. We finalized everything. On the D-Day, this auntie comes, I don't think your tables are in good shape. And I told her it's a rental piece. You don't expect it to look like it came from the rubber. You understand? So this is the best I could get. Honestly, it wasn't bad. I just think she was being fussy, which is fine. If you want something perfect, then you must as well pay for a new one. If not, this is the best I can get for you for a rental piece. It's a farm table. It has a few scratches here and there. You don't expect it to be new. She went home to bring, for the couple table, she went home to bring a wooden table and decided that she wants to paint the table to the tune of the color scheme we're working with, like burnt orange. I like the idea. I think she was just overly excited. But I also didn't want the fact that, you see, that extra work, I have to pay for it to be done. Who am I giving the bill to? Because then she's also making it seem like my sister is going to pay for all of these things. Don't worry. I can't call the bride's mom at that time because she's not even responsive. So some of these things, if you decide not to do it, if you go according to, what she wants, because she's the head of decoration, isn't it? It's like, it gets very difficult. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it was really hard for me. And it wasn't a difficult task, but it was just hard because then you are so confused. And the planner was also saying, do what you can, because like she didn't want to, offend anyone. It was really a difficult one. That's why I'm asking. Maybe I just want to learn from your experiences.
Of the events, we at times get to meet the bride or go for a venue. The other instance where we don't know about that, obviously I keep mentioning the planner because she has pre-briefed us on what we are supposed to do. There are instances where we also disagree on some of the things they've asked us to do because we feel it won't reflect good on us. So we may tell you ahead of time. So in the case where, like I cited, we are asked to work with a guest list, the bride that says, this is from working with a guest list. The bride insists, work with a guest list because based on the guest list, people know where they're supposed to be seated. An event reception, there are about 6 key seats you have to reserve. The bridal train's table, the parents of the bride's table, the parents of the groom's table, any other high-profile persons, and the clergy. So in the case where it's very difficult for us to decide on what to do and the planner is not forthcoming with the information, we could, not that we want to decide, but we tell her ahead of time because the guest list is not going to work. The bride's dad is standing there. You can't tell him to go and sit down. You can't suspect him either because he will blow back on you. So in that case, we are compelled to just say that this is what the way forward to the event. We would have to reserve the seats for the keynote persons of the family, then handle the rest as free seating.
Because mostly when it comes to cocktail time, for instance, you realize that most of the people group according to who they strike a rapport with or who they are very comfortable with when it comes to cocktails. So when it comes to seating, it becomes quite easier for us. And about identifying who the parents are and all of that, it makes it easier because we know where they are seated in the event, so we can quickly identify them and show them where to go. So it's not like we are always waiting to be spoon-fed by the planner, but it's just out of courtesy that if you decide to change something, you need to at least run it by them so that they know why something like this has changed on the ground. If not, the bride will come in feel like you're messing up her event, but if you run it by the planner and she is at all times with the bride, with a coordinator or someone, there's someone always by the bride. So if you run it with her, your dad says, abort using the guest list because most of my friends' names are not there. And it's really true because at times invitations, you can give us a guest list and someone has an invitation, but the name is not there. I don't know how they compile the guest list, but someone really has an invitation, but the name is not registered inside the checklist. So we are compelled to at least figure out the best way to go about the event, rather than telling someone that your name is not there, please, you have to go home because your name is not there. Maybe you didn't RSVP. It's really rude to do that. So we just figure out the best way possible because, again, with events, not everyone you invite gets to come. People may fall sick on the event day. There could be an emergency. So when you're expecting about 200 people, anticipate about 10% may not show up. So it always adds up one way or the other. There's a gate crasher who happens to come in, or there's someone who actually has an invitation but the name wasn't captured and happens to be at the event. Are you going to say go away, or you're not supposed to be on table 10? So, or if you're giving us morning to say the bride, you're giving us morning, the seats are 200. So the rest of the people will have to go home. We only have to improvise and figure out the best way to receive the guests and make them feel like they are really invited to be part of the function. Yeah.
Well, at times I feel security is very simple. You see, if you have a card, but your name is on the list, in English term, it's called counterfeit. It means that what you are holding, everybody who has a card and is supposed to enter, that person's name must what? Be on the list. Or is that not the normal thing? So it could be that you are going to print your own card. No, it happens. If the thing is on WhatsApp and you have a colored printer in your office, you can print your own card. Easy. So in our area, the ushers to a large extent, because they deal with the comfort of the guests, they are a little bit more flexible than us. You see, in our area, anything that is not written is assumption. Do you get it? That's why, if you remember earlier on, I said that when we have our briefings and you come to site as a protection person, we did not bring you there to come and think. We brought you to come and follow what? The instructions. And that's why I like the way Tamara handled the whole thing. It's about unity of command. The command must come from somewhere. Because if she is telling us what to do, you can come with you can say whatever you want to say. Unless she gives us that instruction, we may not be able to move. Because like the Bible says, we all see in pieces. There's somebody who is having the bigger picture. The planner, he knows what the usher is doing, he knows what this person is doing, he knows what that person is doing, and she is having the whole picture. And if she gives us the instruction to do this, for if you say nobody else should come in, and you come and you say you are the auntie, so we should let you in. What if she's telling us nobody else should come in because the chairs and everything is exhausted? And now if you enter, there will not be a place for you, and it might even be much more embarrassing. So unless you use the formal process to give us the instruction, we cannot change it. You see, but she can, because she is right there with the people inside, and her own is more like dealing with that. So coming to your main question, how it affects us for potential clients. Oh, you love it. Have you seen our men standing there? Oh, you know you are secured. I mean, that's the most important. And you know that when you invite us for your program, There's a term, have you heard the term no bagawaya? Nothing will pass. And for that reason, you will definitely come for us. So for us, it helps us. But maybe if you look at it from the other way, ushers may probably use a bit more of discretion. But for us, we are not allowed. Thank you.
Okay, so there's one more question from here.
Two.
It's a contribution. Okay, before we go though, I'd just like to just address you briefly. So I think one thing that we'll all agree is no matter where you fall within the vendor space, the planning space, a lot of emotional intelligence has to come to play. You know, sometimes you'll take the comments that you get from people and feel like you failed at your job. But the truth is, if you do weddings long enough, you realize that there are some comments you can never run away from. They will keep coming. The auntie's comments will always come. There will always be someone who will come and say, we are from Tetegu, so we have to eat and go early. There's always going to be something. Yeah. I once did a program for a government agency, let me say, and I didn't know they take food very seriously there. You know, so the program started. My job, because there were no ashes, and it fell on me to try and get people to go and eat in an orderly manner, right? In my mind, I thought if I do it the right way, everybody gets to eat. You know, so imagine table 1 is going and table 12 is already there, and you know, so for like 5 minutes, I lost my cool, and it's the first time I had lost my cool at an event, you know, and me and these guys went back and forth, and I went home thinking I lost it, you know. It happens. You'll get there, but as you grow in it, at some point you'll know, like Tamara said, who to address when things are going south, and then, you know, just do not marry yourself to some of the outcomes, because they will come. They will come. You'll do your best. There will be someone who will say it sucked, and there's really pretty much nothing you can do about those situations.
And as hard as it is, sometimes it's okay to let things go.
Yeah.
There's some clients that you meet and you realize that's not your clients. You know, and sometimes the amount of money doesn't even make a difference, because you end up like literally hating yourself after the fact. It's not worth it, you know. So I think, again, when it comes to growth, it takes time, you know, because obviously when you're starting, okay, you want every job, but as time goes on, you realize that, you know what, there's certain things, and it's a relationship, right? It's not even about the planning, but you're actually building a relationship, and when it ends on a good term, some of your clients become your friends. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So it's important that when you're merging that off the bat, the things that don't feel right to you don't feel right. Okay.
So I think we have one more contribution and then a question, and then maybe we'll take 2 more. We'll open for 2 more. Okay.
Hi. So I think that we've mentioned like a whole lot. Yes. So I agree with what you mentioned. Just know who has the D in the room, right? However, there's also another thing that we have to be conscious about, and it's discernment as vendors. So you need to have some level of discernment to be able to make a decision there and there as to what to do. So if we have that intuition, so you are there, you're in a situation, you're in a fix, there's a parent, there's an auntie, there's somebody who at the end of the day will create problems from the bride and groom, then over there, you need that discernment to be able to make that decision by yourself.
And also the client is picking you because they trust you.
Absolutely.
You know, so that alone should make you feel secure in your decision making.
Yeah.
We agree.
Thank you. This is also a contribution. I'm also a vendor. Mostly, when I was listening to it, I realized that there are many a times you want to please everybody on the D-Day, or even during the planning process. You can't, because we have to be professional. On the D-Day, sometimes you have aunties coming to change the whole floor plan. For me, I am very strict. I won't change anything, because you are not my client. During the process, try and meet the contribution factors. You ask the bride, you ask the groom, do we have any family member trying to contribute or book a vendor? I have a client that said, oh, a friend wants to pay for a photographer. I vetted the person. I had my own experience with the person. I didn't like it. And I told them, after the event, if you don't get your pictures and your videos, it's not my problem, because I have told you. Till today, about 5 years, they've still not received any videos or pictures. Do you understand? Sometimes when they come to you as a planner, and they are all over Instagram and everything, they have their vendors. Okay, bring your vendors. Let me vet them. I have people that I know have very good reviews. We are all growing. But there are some vendors that will spoil your work for you. So sometimes you just have to be strict and be straightforward and be, open up and let them know that this is the problem, this is the truth. If you go in for this, this is what can happen. And the aunties are going to be there when they come as professional. When you go to the bank, there are rules. If we don't make our profession very professional, they will take us for granted. And at the end of the day, you realize that a lot of them don't like you, but on the D-Day, they come, oh, Sika, why are they? Me da say. Do you understand? Just be strict and be professional. With security, I've had to work with some security professionals, and I was so not happy. And I called the CEO, and I'm like, this particular guy, I don't want him anymore when I'm booking you. And he said, why? I said, how can you drink on grounds? Yeah. How can you talk to ladies on grounds? As a planner, I have my eyes everywhere. Sometimes when they start working, I ask the CEO or whoever I booked from that, when do your guys eat? Do I give them food before or after? Yeah. I make sure there's preparation for you, but you don't drink during, yes. And when, I think for gold marks, anywhere I meet them, the guys are just so professional.
Oh, I thought you clap for us.
So professional.
I thought you clap for us.
And with gemstones, I've never said this to her, but once I worked with her, I loved her because their girls are so on point. They don't hold their phones during events. They know when to eat, when not to eat. And even during events, I don't see her girls eating. Do you understand? So as vendors, I'm just happy we are here. Let's keep the profession very professional. And I think we will attract the respect that we need. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please, any more questions? Any more questions? We have room for two more actually.
Hi, my name is Naki. It's like an add-up to what the planners have said. I'm a planner myself. I want to talk about the bit for coordination. So one challenge I have experienced personally is when clients book us for just the coordination bit of the wedding. Sometimes when you come in as a coordinator, and because you are not the one who did the booking for the vendors, sometimes it's difficult because on the day, mostly I try to do like a month off so that I'm able to liaise with the vendors before the day. But then even that, sometimes on the day, I don't know if they feel like the coordinators are coming to attack their work, I don't know. So as vendors here, I would entreat and then plead with all of us that is a teamwork. We are all working for the clients to achieve the goal that they have. So let's try and then work together and then not make it look like the coordinator is just coming in on the day to come and tell you and order you around. That's actually not it. We also have a timeline and everything that we are working with. So sometimes when we come in and then we are like, oh, maybe Ashes, do this, help us with that. Don't take offense. Yes, that's just what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, a round of applause. That was weak. Are we tired? A little bit. We have room for one more question, and then I'll allow our beautiful moderator to round us up. Right. So one more. We're all good? Are we sure? Okay. It's been a very good session. Tamara, I'll allow you to steer us to the end.
I want to say thank you for taking the time again, and for our panelists. If there is any advice that you want to say yourself to wrap up, please go ahead.
The planners, my name is Boss Cleaning. Please, you should add me to your services as well.
so that before, during, and after the event, your event is going to be beautiful, and there will not be piles of litter here and there, and your guests will be smiling and happy. So my name is Boss Cleaning. You can contact me to join you for your cleaning services. And cleaning is an important part of events. So Mr. MC, you as well. Thank you.
Yes, please. Most definitely.
Well, so if at least by this point you should know that if you have not used gold masks before, then you have never had security at your event. So try us and see. You definitely will. We will never disappoint you. But also, I think that it's also important that if you're at an event and you see that the security guard is behaving like you mentioned, drinking and all of those things, then that security guard becomes the risk you are going to deal with on that day. So whatever the case may be, you must insist that that person is taken off the venue immediately. And if you ever see that with any of our guards, just let us know. But what we do is that we have a patrol team. Anytime we have an event, if you have any challenge and you even need reinforcement, we just need to move people from the office to come and back up, because we have seen it all. 500 becomes 800, 200 becomes 400. So on our path, we try to, create that contingency in terms of demand, so that if we have any lack on the ground, we move in. So, you know what to do.
No bagawaya.
Hi. So much as you know, we are into events guest management. We're also into events coordination as well. And we'll love to partner with you whenever you have an event or you think you are understaffed but will need coordinators on your events. You can always think Gemstones. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. So key, communication, relationship building, and I think it's just very important that we all work together to make this industry thrive. So good luck to all of you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. And so a quick announcement for all of us while we file out. Please note the runway part of today's activities are just about to start in the Dome, I think just by or after the Lagoon Bar, right? So please, let's make sure we pass through. There's a lot of beautiful fits that will be, on the runway, and I would like you guys, or we would like you guys to enjoy that, right? So before we go, the name is Mr. Otu. Everybody's plugging themselves, and so here's my 5 seconds to do so. The name is MISTER_OTU. I'm the biggest thing about to hit you in a couple of years. You make sure you tap in before I make it to Hollywood, okay?
Amen.
So you can follow me on Instagram and on, every other platform at Mr_O2. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
I think it would be right for us to do some group pictures, right? So guys, let's do this together because you've joined in. We'll have the panelists and the moderator, and then I think I will encourage all of us to also join on stage and take a picture. So don't go until we've done that. Thank you. We can have some music in the background while we do. Give us some music and then we take the pictures.